Hello again, dear listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast of the Spirit Channel. I am your host, once again, the Zenith, and I'm delighted to be creating another podcast which will hopefully be of some interest and be of some use to you in your own spiritual development, in your own spiritual seeking, or just for your own information or learning. This one, I feel that I want to talk about the nature of healing and the importance of healing in a life, in a spiritual seeker's life, in anyone's life really. Healing is not just for someone who is spiritual, but it can be for absolutely anyone. The thing about this podcast is I've kind of wanted to do this one for a few days now, maybe a week, but strangely, I'm kind of at a point now where I don't really know what I want to say about this. I don't have a lot of thought in my head about what I want to say or where I want to go with this. So I guess the slight difference between this podcast and all other ones that I've created is although they're all completely unscripted and I don't have any information to hand or any script written down about what I want to talk about, I just let the information flow, and sometimes I feel inspired to talk. Is that this one here in particular, I have really nothing to go on, so forgive me if there's a lot of pauses in this one, if there seems to be a bit of hesitation, but we'll just go with it and see where we end up. Okay, thank you. So healing, spiritual healing, Reiki healing, any other type of healing, there are many different forms of healing, is such an important part of people's journey, important part of people's life. And just thinking about it now, how lucky that I have been to receive healing in my life and to be able to pass that healing on as a healer and transform and make a difference in people's lives. It is so special and so sacred and so important. Its value cannot be underestimated. A bit of background. When I first started my own spiritual awakening and I started to or made the decision to attend a class of awareness, an awareness class, to help you understand and to help you practice and develop your own latent psychic and spiritual abilities, and then to help develop and practice your mediumship, your mental mediumship, your communication, and bringing back messages from deceased people for people within that awareness group. It's all very exciting, and it can create an ego boost, especially when someone can take your message and get a lot out of it, and you get congratulations or a congratulatory applause or clap or appreciation from your fellow spiritual people, and to have that, and potentially then to go on to work with people, to potentially stand on a platform and give out readings to people, and to have that come back to you and as rounds of applause, and to have those people perhaps tell you what an amazing ability you have and an amazing gift you have, to have that talent. It can be alluring, it can be ego boosting, it can be gratifying. Well, obviously it is gratifying, but I guess you can perhaps fall into a bit of a trap, and I think that a lot of people do this. A lot of people who are starting out along the path of mediumship can sort of see stars in their eyes, or perhaps they've given a few links and perhaps a few small readings and think that they are now a fully qualified medium. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that an ability like that can go to your head. You can develop an ego about it, and that way leads to ruin and defeat. This is not what this is about. And so when it comes to healing, healing again is another form of mediumship. It's just not a mental mediumship, it's more of a passive ability. You are not providing any information or providing links. It is an ability in which you are a conduit for those divine spiritual energies, or from that energy that comes directly from the source to pass through you into the person to be healed. And so in that regard, it can be viewed as a secondary form of mediumship, not as interesting, not as exciting, not as many opportunities for ego boosting or fame or anything like that. And so it is a path that can be shunned or not widely taken up or widely desired. In fact, there are not too many healers who are widely known. Most healers, to my extent of knowledge, often work in the background, their talents and their abilities not receiving the same sort of attention as those who follow the path and only the path of mental mediumship. And that's okay, because most healers prefer it that way. Most healers recognize that and understand and are taught that it is not they who have the ability to heal, but they are simply the conduit, the vessel through which healing energies flow. But once you or someone starts down the path of healing to become a healer, you quickly begin to realize how important it is and how great a responsibility is placed upon your shoulders. I guess because working as a healer within a sanctuary or a church, or anywhere that perhaps a group of healers can gather, and also just providing healing to people that you encounter in your daily life. And let me just say a few things about spiritual healing. Is that spiritual healing can be a hands-on form of healing. You don't necessarily need to move your hands over to any particular part of the body, as I believe is done in Reiki. You simply place your hands on the person to be healed and let the healing energies flow through you. And again, this is not something that you can get direct confirmation of while you're healing. Sometimes you can feel that there's nothing happening, but I digress. Now, where was I? Yeah, so that can be one form of spiritual healing. Other forms of spiritual healing can be distance healing, in which the person isn't even in the room with you. Distance healing involves the nulling of hands on a person. So perhaps the person does not want to be touched, or is within the confines of a hospital bed, or for any other reason. This is what is called distance healing. Person doesn't have to be right beside you, can be separated by a small distance. And we also have absent healing. Absent healing is when people are not even in the same room as you, perhaps separated by vast distances. Absent healing is normally said in the form of prayer or sending light and love to that person who has asked to be healed. There is magnetic healing, in which it's a transfer of energy from the healer to the person who requires healing. It's normally involved by holding the person who requires healing, holding their hands and transferring your energy from yourself to that other person. Or there is trance healing. Trance is not something that I've talked about yet on this podcast, and I will do an episode, but basically trance is getting into a very deep state of meditation, in which you can lose track of yourself, or lose track of time, because you're in that very, very deep state, and it provides a very deep form of healing. But anyway, these are forms of spiritual healing. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that yes, you can be in a sanctuary, you can be in a healing group or a healing area or a healing room or church or whatever the case may be. But outside of this, you can heal someone in your daily life or send healing to them. I've done this many times in my job, interacting with people, and people will perhaps talk to me, confide in me problems, and I'll mentally send them healing. I will send them distance healing if I am doing a healing meditation. Or perhaps I'll hold their hands and send some healing energies that way to them. But so I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that there are many different forms of spiritual healing, and spiritual healing is what I'm talking about today, not any other type of healing. So when someone comes to you, whether it's in your place or where you do healing, privately or in a body, perhaps you work in a group of healers, or perhaps you work privately, or perhaps you do it as a form of charity. Perhaps you work with like a body with such as the Spiritualist Nationalist Union, who provide free healing or healing by donation. But largely people will come to you and you don't know what is wrong with this person. You don't know the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual condition this person is in. And people will confide in you, and sometimes it can be heartbreaking listening to people and what they've been through and what they're currently going through. So to provide healing to a person, and 90% of the time, if not more, you'll simply be providing emotional and perhaps spiritual healing. Physical healing is a more advanced or more rare feat. So most of the time it is mental, and I guess because of the world that we live in today, with so many mental health problems and so much chaos and confusion, mental healing and healing person's anguish or anxiety or trauma or whatever the case may be is not to be underestimated. But whenever you have finished doing your healing on a person, or allow the healing energies to flow from you through to that person, to see that person uplifted, changed, find release perhaps in the form of tears, and to leave your company or your sanctuary in a much better mental and emotional and spiritual state than what they have come in is a great responsibility and a beautiful and I'm struggling to find the words here, and a really deep and wondrous sight to see that. And as I said, it's the sense of responsibility then that you have as a healer. When you've touched someone that deeply, when you have changed them for the better, then you begin to realize the importance of healing as opposed to just mental mediumship. And again, I don't want to underestimate the value of mental mediumship. It is just as important as thing, but it's just as healing. But it's just that the preconception and perhaps the old world view that healing mediumship or a healing medium was perhaps a lesser thing, but it's certainly not that. And it's only when you have performed healing and when you can do healing and when you see the effect that you have on a person, when they're placing their trust and their hope in you, that you will be able to help them through a trauma or a condition or emotional baggage. It is, you truly do feel like a bit of a superhero. You know, you can feel like Superman or Wonder Woman, you know, that you have this great responsibility that has been placed upon your shoulders. But always with no ego, because as I said, the healer will recognize that the healing energies are only being transferred through you. You are not a healer themselves, or sorry, you're not the one who has this healing abilities. You're mainly the conduit for this. You're making yourself available for this. And when we look at the world today, the 21st century, in the month of July, on the 28th as I record this, when we look out and we see a world afflicted by this COVID, or coronavirus that has transformed the world, perhaps like nothing else in history. The measures that have been taken I want to be slightly careful here about how I approach this, because I do have my own views on this, but this isn't the time and the place. But the measures that have been taken to prevent what appears to be the worldwide spread of it, and perhaps the amount of deaths that have been attributed to this, the lockdowns that have occurred, the new powers implemented to governments, the increased powers that have been given to security services, to intelligence agencies, maybe that's not quite accurate, but police forces, law enforcements, and the completely changed world in which we find ourselves. The mental effect of all this accumulation, the mental problems that it has caused people who have been locked down for the past 2 years. Some countries, certainly here in what is part of the UK, officially part of the UK, Northern Ireland, we've had 3 lockdowns. Well, most people have had 3 lockdowns. I've not been locked down once due to the nature of my job. But the cumulative effect of that, of not being able to socialise, to have recreation, not being able to take a walk in nature, to take a walk along a beach, to not be able to go into a town centre to have some sort of emotional release through through shopping, through purchasing items in a shop, through not being able to socialize in a restaurant, in a cafe, to not be able to have a recreational night out in a local pub or nightclub. It causes a lot of emotional distress. People have no release for this. The mental effect that this has on children, not being able to attend their local school where their classmates, their friends are. People forced out of work. It's caused a lot of mental problems for people. People have older people in nursing homes. I've experienced this and seen it myself. Common rooms being shut down. This is people who are in retirement and nursing homes. This is generally their only outlet. Common rooms where they can sit and with other residents or tenants and perhaps catch up and share stories. Instead, these people have been locked up in their rooms, forced to or perhaps with nothing else to do but put on the television or radio and have constantly endless rolling, depressing, terrifying news about the deaths, number of COVID and casualties, the mental strain and imbalances that would put on people. Then people having hospital appointments cancelled, fears over their health condition, fears over whether they don't get an operation or get to see a doctor, the worry and strain of that. For that alone, for that reason alone, and I could stop right there. I could actually stop right there. For that reason alone, the importance of healing should hopefully give you then the importance of an ability like healing. Perhaps healing is needed in the world right now like no other, but when we even look past COVID and we look at, or perhaps due to COVID, the amount of people that have lost their jobs, the amount of people on the breadline, the amount of people who have no income now, the amount of people who have lost their lifestyle, and I don't mean their holidays and stuff like that, not being able to go on holiday or afford nice cars or nice clothes, but even people who have found that it is hard to perhaps feed a family, on a social security check, if that country provides one. To have that worry, that strain of where their next meal's coming from, to have perhaps a social shame or a stigma to rely on free handouts or a food bank. And the inequality that this has caused while massive companies like Amazon and Walmart and supermarket chains have profited. Companies like that where they have increased their profit margins tremendously. So it has created even more inequality in our world, where the rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer. But on top of that, we have the constant wars all around the world. We have constant wars in the Middle East. We have the threat of war between Europe, between the United States, between the West boogeyman in Russia. We have unrest and political upheaval in South America. All around the world, we still have these wars and upheavals and uprisings, and we now have I thought I was done with this, but these restrictions on our travel and where we can potentially go due to COVID passports. We have separation in society between those vaccinated and those who have chosen not to get vaccinated. and we have a situation where people have turned against each other. And so we have this, what appears to be an extremely divided world that threatens to be spiraling out of control, and we have to wonder where we're headed for in the world. In a world that seems to be certainly on a downward slope, the threat of nuclear war, probably countless other examples that I'm missing out here. But again, I'm only reeling these off on the top of my head. But I'm just trying to get you to understand, is it not, and should it not, and perhaps can you not understand perhaps then the importance and the vitalness of healing? Healing in the world that we need right now. It is healing that the world needs. We have critical race theory. I just listened to something on that. We have the Black Lives Matter movement, which seems to have been hijacked and infiltrated with looters, rioters, organizations like Antifa. We have far-right extremism on the world, and this all seems to be when one group stands up, then the diametrically opposite group seems to stand up in relation to that. We have the Israeli-Palestine situation. The list goes on. Is it not the entire world really needs healing right now? The entire world, the entire human population needs to be healed. And so this is how vital healing is. Now, as a healer, yes, I can provide healing on an individual level, but it has also affected the healers, or the group of healers that I work with. All those people who would have come to our sanctuary, our place of healing, to receive healing, have no longer had that opportunity for the past 2 odd years. And so we have been reduced in some capacity to having a healing group meditation and sending out healing to those who request our healing, who get in contact with our healing group, and by sending out healing to the world. But perhaps in a way, this is a very valuable thing, because we're no longer concentrate our healing on just those patients who come to the church, but perhaps this has birthed and provided a new opportunity for groups, not only mine, but all other groups of healers throughout the world, who no longer have the direct responsibility or opportunity to provide hands-on healing, and so have a group of guided meditators to send out healing in the world. So all those little pinpoints of light, sending out their healing energies to not only those who have requested healing, but groups of people for, or perhaps all of the destruction and destruction and chaos that has been wrought on societies, on communities, on countries, on the entire planet, also on the animal kingdom, on the plant kingdom, on the whole planetary population, the whole planet ourselves. So perhaps this is an opportunity for healers and people who can do healing to extend their healing not only to, as I said before, to those people who would have come directly to their local place to receive healing, but to the entire world then. And I think if the more people who do this, then we can start to heal the divides and calm the minds and perhaps restore sanity and where insanity has reigned, and perhaps provide calming and becalming and cooling emotions where anger and rage and injustice once reigned. And I would say to you, dear listener, that it is not only people who specialize in healing, people who have the gift of healing, who can provide healing, but you too can do this. You too can, in your own way, send healing into the world. It is as simple as closing your eyes. If you can meditate, fantastic. If not, perhaps listen to one of my previous podcasts on how to meditate and learn how to meditate. And in the meditative state, you can send light, you can send love to individuals, you can send light and love to groups, to countries, you can send light and love to the planet, Mother Earth, Gaia herself, to help heal her wounds. You too can do this. It does not require you to be a qualified or registered healer. There is no test that you need to undertake, or no exam that you need to sit, or essay that you need to write. Everything is contained within the power of your mind. All it is a recognition that you need to open yourself up to this and just simply let healing energies flow through you. And once you decide to do this and recognize that you can be a conduit for healing energy, then those in the higher dimensions, in the non-physical world, in the spirit world, and those entities who watch over the very creation themselves, right up until the very source, God, the creator, the great spirit themselves, will pass those healing energies through you, and that healing will go where it is meant to go. You may not feel anything, but you just need to have faith that this can be done. There was a meditation that was performed at one time. It was a group of people, or large groups, practiced Transcendental Meditation, and it's called the Maharishi effect, because the meditators were assembled at the Maharishi University in Iowa in the US, and they meditated over a period of 3 years, from 2007 to 2010. They meditated on reducing crime, and what they found during that 3-year period was that there was a massive drop in national homicide and urban violent crime compared to previous years. I think, just reading a few stats here, there was a 5.3% a year drop in violent crime over the 3 years that they got together and meditated on reducing crime. So I will post the statistics where you can find this if anyone's interested in doing this, or anyone's interested in reading this here. They find that by practicing this meditation and meditating on reducing crime, they were able to have an effect on people's consciousness, on people's emotional state, on people's urge to commit crime. And so we know that this works. We know that meditation, by sending healing into the world, does actually work. And so I would urge you, dear listener, to at least give this a try. You may not be a qualified healer, you may have not have done anything like this before, but I would simply ask you to give it a try. What What have you got to lose? And we do know it works from studies such as these that has produced fantastic results. If we all done this, if we all got together and we all perhaps meditated or simply projected healing and love into society or into the world today, what would be the outcome if we done this for long enough? What would our world look like? What would society be like? What effect would this have on our wars, on our desire to accumulate wealth, our greed, our inequalities, our aggression, our urge to commit crime? What would this do for compassion, for empathy, for forgiveness, for tolerance, for love towards one another? If we could, as a human race, simply take our focus away from all the things that really do not matter, towards the inane, the banal, the insignificant, non-important things like flicking on your TV and watching, soap operas or the latest episode of something, or American Gladiators, or whatever the case may be. If we could take our attention away from seeing what the latest influencer has to wear, or what the latest selfie someone has posted on Instagram, or what somebody is having to eat on Facebook and other social media, and if we simply, as I said, to whatever degree that we feel possible or able to feel possible, to send those qualities out into the world, what changes would we see that we have been crying for, that we've been crying out for? We're not as powerless and we're not as hopeless as we simply think. It's simply that we all believe that we're separated. But if we all, by and large, united and came together as one and focused the point, or focused our attention on something like this, perhaps we could see real change in the world. And so I hope that I have explained in some way, and you've got some understanding of the importance of healing, not only to the individual, but how it can affect large groups of people, in fact, the world as a whole. And so I think I've said enough on this episode. And so with that, I want to offer you my thanks, offer you my appreciation for taking the time to listen to this podcast. We started off that we didn't know where we were going to go on this, and found that once again I've had a bit more to talk on the subject than I felt I have, but I understand also that perhaps I've been inspired to talk by my higher self, or perhaps those around me who guide me. But as I said, thank you once again for taking the time to listen to this. I hope you give you some food for thought. I do hope that you perhaps try to meditate, learn to meditate, and if not, just a simple pause, 5 minutes of your time to close your eyes and send out those thoughts of healing and light into this chaotic and turbulent world, into this negative spiral that we seem to be headed towards, and we can make real change. I've been your host, Zenith. It has been my pleasure to talk to you today, and as always, I hope that you can join me on further episodes as we both grow and learn together. And so, bye.